Hello, Professor. I'm Drella Fuller. I hope you are doing well. This is my presentation on ACM Code of Ethics. So for my case, I chose the case on malware disruption, which the scenario was, this scenario involves rogue services, a hosting provider that offers guaranteed uptime to its clients, including those engaged in malicious activities like hosting botnets and distributing malware. So then a security was formed, and they designed a worm. So they want to deploy it into rogue services. So the worm is designed to disrupt any malicious activities. So here the security teams are faced with an ethical dilemma on whether they should deploy the worm to rogue or not. So the relevance of this case is it highlights ethical challenges in the real cybersecurity world. Cybersecurity professionals must balance between stopping crimes with ethical responsibility, ensuring solutions do not create new risks. Yeah. So let's move to the next slide, which was question number 2. And it said that identify which ethical principles are involved in the case scenario and explain how they are involved. Okay. So the principles involved, number 1 is a computing professional should avoid harm. The worm may not, in this case, the worm may harm innocent clients, causing an unintended collateral damage. Yeah. So the worm that they are deploying by the security teams may harm those who are not engaging in malicious activities, but are clients of rogue services. So the security team here, before deploying the worm, are faced with an ethical question. The ethical dilemma that they have is whether the intentional harm is justified to prevent greater harm that is caused by the malware, or it will create risk to the other clients in the system. So the second principle, it states that a computing professional should contribute to society and human well-being. Yeah. So the security team here, before deploying the worm to the network, to rogue network, they must first ask themselves, removing malware protects people from the ransomware, spam, or botnets. Yeah. By removing the malware, it protects the people from spams and botnets. Yeah, that is doing the well-being of the society by removing the malicious activities and the botnets in the network, so that they cannot affect others. So the ethical focus here is, in this principle, it emphasizes that the response team's action should prioritize the well-being of the society. Yeah. The third principle is a computing professional should design and implement secure system. In this case, so the worm that is being designed and being deployed to rogue services. So the security team must carefully design the worm to avoid unintended harm, like damaging non-malicious system and creating further vulnerabilities. Yeah. So their ethical responsibility, they should first secure the system, yeah, and design the worm in that it cannot prevail to create further damage, but do the good that it was intended to do. Yeah. So when we go to the next slide, it was part B of the question that states identify 3 principles from any other ethical sources and ideas. For example, cheating, fairness, theft, kindness, caring for others, family, protecting others, protecting yourself, greed. These principles can be societal, legal ethics, personal ethics, professional ethics, or business ethics. So in my case, the 3 principles that I chose first was fairness. This is the innocent clients of frog should not suffer the results of the worm deployment. Yeah. Fairness requires balancing of rights for all stakeholders. Responsibility. The security team has a professional and a moral duty to act responsibly, ensuring their actions minimize harm and serve the greater good also and does not create risks. Also, transparency. Rogue clients deserve to be informed about the risks associated with the hosting provider business practices. Yeah, they need to be informed and everything should be clear, like, because transparency is essential for trust and ethical accountability. Yeah. The third part of the question states, discuss, do you agree with the decisions made or actions taken in your ACM scenario from an ethical perspective? Why or why not? Explain and justify using at least 2 serious non-consumer, non-news reference, specifically mention and make reference to these sources in your video. In my case, I disagree with the decision to deploy the worm to disable malicious services hosted by rogue services. While the intention to protect the public from malware is commendable, deploying a worm introduces ethical and practical concerns. In my justification of why I chose to disagree with the decision, because the worm may cause unintended consequences. For example, deploying a worm even with good intentions can lead to unpredictable outcomes. The worm might spread beyond its intended targets, affecting innocent users and system. So I had a reference here. This reference covers the story of Stuxnet. Stuxnet is a worm that was discovered in Iranian computers. The piece of malware surprised computer experts due to its sophistication and the use of 4-0-day exploit. It was later discovered that the malware was not designed to spy, but to sabotage centrifuges in the nuclear power facilities in Iran. The worm was probably implanted in the Nazis' power plant network with the use of compromised USB cable. So in this case, yeah, we are having like the victim as the Iranian. They had a nuclear plant. Yeah, they had a nuclear plant, and their nuclear plant was facing criticism from the government of America and the government of Israel. So the Israeli and the United government designed a worm which was called Olympic Games of OG, which was later called Stuxnet worm. Yeah, so the worm was designed to attack the centrifuges, the centrifuges of the Iranian nuclear facilities, making them they were designed in that they can make the centrifuges to spin very fast, or they can reduce the spin to spin very slow. In that, when they spin very fast, they cause the centrifuges to burst. So, for example, let me just take you to the link about Stuxnet. Yeah. So this is my reference on Stuxnet. See here the target of centrifuges used in uranium enrichment process in nuclear plant at Natanz in Iran. Stuxnet worm here. A worm using 40-day vulnerabilities and infecting computers network to USB drive. It damages the centrifuges, modification or and creation of cyber strategies in the world, increase in awareness and cyber security issues. So we have here the consequences of Stuxnet. See, like uh, mm, uh, mm, but simply uh, the Stuxnet. Sorry. Yeah. So Stuxnet worm, as we read through, if we continue to read the slides and the story on Stuxnet worm, there was this time when the government of Israeli took the code, tempered it with, then the Stuxnet worm spread beyond its unintended purpose, and it spread across the world, and also it spread back to the United States, causing many computers to shut down and causing economic sabotage. Yeah. The second reason is unauthorized access. Introducing a worm into the system without consent violates principle of respect for individuals' privacy. Even if the goal is to neutralize malicious activities, acting without authorization undermines ethical standards and could erode public trust in cybersecurity practices. So we move to the next slide. See that these two reasons does not align with our ACM Code of Ethics, because the first one was it violates the avoid harm, because you're risking the worm may cause damage, not may spread and cause damage that it was not intended to. And also, when you deploy the worm without telling the clients, the users of the network, you will be violating their privacy. So here we have a link to the ACM Code of Ethics. See, like here it says, it talks about harm, like a computer professional, you should avoid harm. And also here it talks about should be transparent and honesty in your dealings. Yeah. Okay. So moving to the next question, which is question number 4. It states that now assume the here we have to role play. Now assume that the perspective of different social people and players role play and project how they will think about your scenario. From an ethical perspective, you will need at least one new reference for each part, for A, for B, for C, for D. Yeah, so the first part will role play as the victim perspective. These are the non-malicious clients of rogue services. So from our ethical view, innocent customers might argue that deploying the worm is unethical because it will disrupt their businesses, because they had no role in those malicious activities and they should not suffer any damage due to cybersecurity intervention. Also, this violates the ACM Code of Ethics principle, which tells us that our computer professionals should not avoid harm, should not contribute to any harm. So, to the justification, if the security response team deploys the worm, it could cause downtime, data loss, or system instability for legitimate businesses hosted by rogue services. Cybersecurity intervention should be targeted to avoid harming non-malicious user. So there's a book here by, it's called The Data and Goliath, The Hidden Battles to Collect Your Data and Control Your World. In this book, it discusses how cybersecurity measures sometimes harm innocent users, highlighting the ethical dilemma of balancing between security and individual rights. So we can click to this link. It'll take us to select cookies. Okay. So this is the book. It's still loading. I think it's still loading. Okay, back to the slides. We can go to the next slide of where we role play as the at the corporate perspective. Here the corporate is rogue services in their defense. So the ethical view is rogue services might argue that they provide neutral hosting services and it's not their role to police customers. They prioritize client privacy and autonomy, which aligns with the ACM Code of Ethics to 1.6, respect of privacy. They may claim that hosting services should not be held responsible for what users do. However, critics argue that fraud services has an ethical responsibility to prevent harm by refusing services to criminals. Also here, this is a link that discusses how companies navigate privacy and responsibility dilemmas in digital spaces. First link is still loading. This book. So this is the book. Yeah. Okay. So let me show you the link. Okay. Yeah. This one. Okay. Can proceed to the next slide, which talks about role playing in society's perspective. Yeah, this is the public and the cyber expert. In the ethical view, the public might support disrupting malware to protect society, but worrying about the legal and ethical precedent set by hacking back. Like hacking back means the cybersecurity expert, they can use they can use the worm. They can use the the botnets to attack back the malicious people. The one they're they're doing the malicious activities on the network. So deploying the worm could lead to more recklessness, cybersecurity inventions violating the ACM principle 2.9. That says that a cybersecurity professional should design and implement secure systems. So justification, while fighting a cybercrime is important, hacking back could escalate conflicts and encourage unethical digital vigilantism. Society benefits from ethical cybersecurity intervention that comply with the law. Yeah, not going like the complying by the law in that everything that they do should be transparent. There should be no like shortcut of doing things behind the people's back that can create mistrust. Yeah. So I hate this referral, which examines how security interventions affect public trust and societal norms. This one, I don't know why it's not providing me the link, but if you copy and you paste it to Google Scholar or any Google or any search engine, it will take you to the page. Okay, this is now role playing as the law enforcement perspective. The law states that law enforcement agencies emphasize that any intervention, including deploying worms, must comply with legal frameworks. Unauthorized action, even with good intentions, are unlawful. The action of deploying the worm should follow the legal standards to minimize harm to the innocent. Yeah, like they should follow every the policies that has been set by the laws enforcement agencies in deploying that worm, because there are some rules that has been set by the law enforcement law enforcement, in that they should be followed. They should be Such activities should follow a particular policies and policies and rules. Yeah. Plus with the guidelines that are being set. So I had here a reference. This is a reference on a publication on cyberspace operation, discusses the importance of minimizing collateral damage and adhering to the legal standards during cyber interventions. So mm, mm, yeah, okay. So yeah, this is one of the link. See, it talks about the Morris form. This is one of the first computers that was developed in 1988 in 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 a university. Yeah. Okay. Also, this one. Uh, Moving to the next slide. Uh, it was question number 5 that states, finally select 2 of the following technology topics. In my case, I chose encryption as my number 1 topic to talk about it. And in the second one was Internet of Things. So in this slide, we will talk about encryption. So let's first understand what is encryption. Encryption is the process of converting data into a coded format to prevent unauthorized access. It ensures that the only authorized users with the correct decryption can access the original information. Encryption plays a critical role in legal and ethical discussion, particularly in cybersecurity, privacy, and law enforcement. It raises important questions about balancing security, privacy, and public safety. So we would talk on the legal issues. Encryption is often regulated by government to prevent misuse, but laws vary globally. Key legal concerns include: number 1, the part F, data protection laws and compliance. Uh, General Data Protection Regulation, which is GDPR, the EU, European Union requires that companies to use strong encryption to protect users' data from attacks. Also, we have the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, in the USA, which encourages encryption to prevent unauthorized access of data. Also, we have HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act in the US that mandates encryption for protecting medical records of the patients. Also, it comes when the government it demands for access, like government citing public safety concerns have sought to mandate encryption backdoors, yeah. And in this instance, I had a reference from the incident that occurred in 2016 between Apple and the FBI case. There was a shooting at a place in USA, Baminoda, yeah. And the attackers, one of the attackers was shot and gunned down. So his findings, they found an Apple phone. So the FBI requested Apple to unlock the iPhone linked to the terrorist. Apple refused, citing the potential for the abuse of a universal backdoor. So Apple could not unlock the phone for the FBI because they were so concerned about their private and their public figure, about their public say on the on privacy protection of the people's data. Yeah. Also in Australia, there was this law that was passed in 2018, Australia Assistance and Access Act. This law forces tech companies like Apple, Google, Facebook to assist in law enforcement, potentially undermining encryption security. Yeah. Also, China and Russia have strict regulations requiring access to encrypted data for national security. China's cybersecurity law of 2017 requires that tech companies to store data locally and provide government access when needed. Also, cross-border challenges. These legal issues may vary from country to country. Encryption laws differ by country, creating legal ambiguities for companies operating globally. Some countries ban strong encryption or require government access. For example, in India, UAE, and also parts like in China. Okay, the ethical issues. The ethical debate centers on whether encryption should be absolute or if exceptions should be made for the law enforcement and national security. So here we have like ethical issues here is like privacy versus security. The ethical tension between protecting individual privacy and enabling law enforcement to investigate crimes to central to encryption is central to encryption debates because there maybe this time, for example, like the Apple case, the FBI wanted Apple to unlock the phone so that they can have information on what the terrorist was carrying on his iPhone. But on the other end, iPhone, Apple with their reputation for people's encryption and privacy did not agree with the FBI request of them to unlock the iPhone. So, okay. So the next one is corporate responsibility. Tech companies must decide whether to prioritize their users' privacy or cooperate with the governments to ensure public safety. Yeah. Potential for abuse. Backdoors intended for law enforcement can be exploited by bad actors, creating ethical concerns about unintended consequences. So we have societal issues. Encryption benefits society but also possesses risk when misused. Empowerment of individual is there. Encryption gives people control over their personal information, protecting them from identity theft, cyber attacks, and surveillance. Also, we have the dark side of encryption. Criminals and terrorists exploit this encrypted communication to evade detection, leading to the risk in the society. Example is encrypted messages like Signal and WhatsApp have been criticized for facilitating anonymous communication among harmful actors here because there's no third party who can see what you're talking to other person. Yeah. Also moral issues. The moral debate revolves around fundamental rights and ethical responsibilities. Moral right to privacy. Individuals have a fundamental moral right to protect their private communication from intrusion. Mass surveillance without consent is considered a violation of human rights. Yeah. People have their right to protect their information, because you cannot use things like maybe cameras to spy on people without their knowledge. That is considered as something that is not right, and it's not something that is right, and it's something that will be undermining the moral issues in the society. Also, we have the moral responsibility of the government. The government have the duty to ensure public safety without violating citizens' privacy unnecessarily. A moral obligation exists to balance encryption benefits against its potential misuse. So the second technology is Internet of Things. The Internet of Things refers to interconnected smart devices that collect, exchange, and analyze data. This includes smart homes devices such as Alexa, Google Nest, industrial sensors, medical devices, and even smart cities. While Internet of Things improve efficiency and convenience, it also raises legal and ethical, societal and moral concerns related to privacy, security, and accountability. So number one, we'll start by talking about the legal issue. We have limited, like we lack comprehensive Internet of Things regulation. Many countries do not have specific laws governing Internet of Things security. IoT devices often lack built-in security features, making them vulnerable to attacks. Some laws focus on data protection, but do not cover Internet of Things specific risks, like unauthorized access to personal environment. California Internet of Things Security Law of 2020 is state in the US. It states that it states that it passed a law that required manufacturers to include reasonable security features in the Internet of Things. So to assist in the cyber crimes that come from internet that rise from attacking the Internet of Things. Data ownership and privacy concerns. IoT devices collect vast amount of personal data. For example, locations, habits, health metrics. The legal question is, who owns and controls this data? The user, the manufacturer, or the government? Some governments force companies to store IoT data locally, raising concerns about the government surveillance. Yeah. Also, the cross-border challenges. IoT operates globally, but data protection laws differ from between countries to countries. Example is a US Internet of Things company operating in Europe must comply with the GDPR in the European Union, even if it's based in the US. Conflicts arise when the government demand access to the data stored in another country. China Cybersecurity Law of 2017 requires foreign companies to store Internet of Things data within China, making global Internet of Things operation complex. Yeah. Because every country has its own laws and regulations regarding how to protect the data of their people and policies too. So in talk of ethical issues of the Internet of Things, first of all, number one, it's the manufacturer negligence in security. Many Internet of Things manufacturers prioritize cost over security, leading to weak or no encryption. Devices often come with default passwords that attackers can easily exploit. Should manufacturer be held legally responsible for the Internet of Things security failures? For example, the Mirai botnet attack of 2016, where hackers used an insecure Internet of Things smart camera and routers to create a botnet that launched the largest denial of service attack in the history, taking down major websites. Is privacy invention and mass surveillance. Internet of Things devices constantly monitor and record users' behaviors, often without explicit content. Smart home devices listen to conversation, raising concerns and data misuse. Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home voice assistants have been caught recording private conversation, sometimes sending them to unintended recipients. So the moral issues of IoT. So we can talk about profit versus security. Many companies in these days prioritize profits over security, launching products with known vulnerabilities. Should Internet of Things manufacturers be normally obligated to fix security flaws before selling the devices? Environmental concerns and IoT waste. IoT devices generate massive electronic waste. when they become obsolete. Because of their short lifespan, many IoT gadgets are non-upgradable, forcing consumers to buy new ones, leading to increased e-waste. Consumer awareness and responsibility. Sometimes users often fail to change their default passwords or update their IoT firmware, making them so vulnerable to attacks. Should consumer bear some responsibility for securing their device, or the manufacturers? So when we talk about moral issues, we have corporate morality. Corporate morality, in that companies have a moral obligation to prioritize user safety over profits by implementing robust security measures and transparent policies. Also, customer awareness. Users must be educated about securing their Internet of Things, such as changing their default passwords to avoid becoming part of the larger threat, such as botnets. And environmental concerns. The production and disposal of IoT raises moral question about environmental sustainability. Yeah. So from my two technological topics, I have this is my references from the encryption. For example, this one. This is an article on encryption and its implication. So mm, so I think we can go back to the old search. I think the system has been updated. So we can type here encryption. It's loading. So you see here we have many topics about encryption. Encryption. Okay, for example, we can look like this topic. This article. But this one needs to be paused. But you can download the site. This is the citations. Yeah, check the other one. We have this blog on the analysis between the Apple case and the FBI. This one. So we have this encryption in China cybersecurity laws that states that the data should be stored locally. Also, we have a reference from the GDPR on encryption, and also on IoT, Internet of Things. We have the California IoT security laws, which requires that companies should come with robust security features to protect the data of their users. Also, we have the example. This is a link on the Mirai botnet attack, where the hackers used uh, an Internet of Things to access into a network where they created bots and caused denial of service. Yeah, so that was my presentation, Professor, on malware disruption.